Hey everyone, Matt Pisarcik from RazorEmporium.com today to do a review of a new Fatguy on the market. We're going to talk about the original Gillette Fatboy versus the new Global Shave Club International Fatguy razor. Let's put them back to back. All right, everyone, I am all lathered up. We used a Perma-Sharp pre-post today, the white for sensitive skin. I used their blue, Perma-Sharp blue shave cream. We used the Razor Emporium brush to make it a lather. It's fairly good. I think it could be maybe a little better, but I always tell you guys, this is never the perfect conditions. Like, I love coming home and shaving at home. You know, I get to do that 2 or 3 times a week versus this 1 or 2 times a week, and you know, out of the shower, you always get the better shave. But here we are. Today's review. If you guys haven't already known, there is a new Fatboy clone on the market, and it is called the Fatguy. And it's coming from a company called Global Shave Club, and they are claiming it to be a faithful reproduction of the original Gillette 1.95 adjustable razor. And so today we're going to kind of put some of those claims to the test, both in construction and also shave performance. So I think we'll start with the shave performance and we'll start talking about construction as we're going. So I'm going to give a couple swipes here with the original Gillette razor. This is on number 3 with a Perma-Sharp blade in both. So I know number 3 is kind of one of the settings I like to be starting off at. 1 or 2 are a little bit more mild for my taste. I'm going to bump it up to 4, maybe even 5 here. So nice, efficient. And up to number 5. Clean, close. Easy to use, feels great. So before I get much further, I want to pull out the other one, and we'll start shaving the left side over here. So I'm also just going to go, I'll start at number 3 like I did, and go up. First thing I noticed, that's a little more rough. Let me bump it up and see if it's any better. First thing I noticed about the razor is that it looks really close. I'm never going to take that away from this razor. It looks really close. That's more similar. Yeah. Number 5, shaving nice as well. So far, the performance feels very similar. I may be biased, but I'm definitely liking the Fatboy feel better. It just feels more smooth. But this is very comparable. It's a shade of gray difference. But the construction the appearance is close, but the construction is different. Yes, it just feels so much smoother. You probably can hear it too. This is just kind of mowing through the hair and not tugging or anything. Another one's kind of tugging. And I also want to say that this is not a this razor that I grabbed, the Fatboy, is as close to found condition, meaning I grabbed it out of a storage container I had, and it was a Fatboy that used to be on display in my collection. It's original condition, original nickel, not been tuned up, not been revamped. I literally looked at it. I checked the blade gap looked good. It was really close. I did quickly just adjust the blade gap to make sure it was straight. Maybe it had been dropped. Almost all the adjustables over the course of decades will get dropped. So other than that, it's found. But the first difference you're going to see is that this is a nickel finish, which is more of a kind of a gray color, and this is a chrome finish, which is more of a kind of a blue color. So that's the first difference. Chrome is better in the sense that it is hypoallergenic. I'll give that to chrome. Some people have nickel allergies, and those people are few and far between. And usually a nickel allergy is something, if the nickel's stain on your hand, like a ring, let's say, or a bracelet or a watch, if it's in close proximity, in close contact with your skin for a prolonged period of time. I have had customers who have a legitimate nickel allergy say that they don't want nickel. I'm not discrediting it. I don't know about nickel allergies specifically, but I would imagine, and I'm definitely making a leap here, I'm imagining that a razor passing quickly over your skin and there's a layer of soap and water. I don't know if it's equivalent to a nickel allergy with a ring, being tightly against your finger, dry all day long, or a watch, or a necklace, or whatever. But tell me in the comments if nickel is really a concern, because almost all the vintage Gillette razors are nickel. Chrome is nice, and actually to get a chrome finish, it involves nickel plating. It's usually called triple chrome plating, which means copper, then nickel, then the chrome over the nickel. And the chrome is really just used for a little bit of color, but really about the hardness. I'm gonna bump down to 4 here for my lower neck. I will also give the Fatguy the credit that I thought they got the adjuster really nice. In the sense that it's very similar to the Gillette clicker. That's impressive. We have made our own little replacement clicker that's available for sale on our site, and I had them fabricated, and they don't actually look as close as this. So I was like, hey, kudos, that looks really nice. In terms of the actual components, the twist open knob, the handle, the adjuster dial, the clicker, the doors, everything actually does look really, really similar. The first thing I noticed, at least with the one I have, is that this lower part here was just not all the way flush, so it ends up not letting it really want to stand. You can see how wobbly it is so easily on its base, whereas almost all the Fatboys are absolutely perfect. So I didn't really like that, and it could be just a matter of tightening this a little bit more, or it could just be that the tolerance is a little bit off. The Fatguy is made out of a Swiss alloy brass, they're calling it. It's basically a brass that has magnesium added into it. And the original Gillettes are stamped brass. I don't think any of these parts are stamped. I think these are cast. Actually, I'm 100% sure they're cast. And so you ask yourself, what's the difference between cast brass and stamped brass? And the difference is tolerances and precision. I've often said that the original Gillettes are pretty much impossible to beat in terms of their quality of construction. The stamped brass, you could have, and often would have, 100,000 pieces stamped, and you could look at them, and the stamping dies were so well made and so well hardened, and the setup process for the progressive stamping machinery in the Boston factory, that The parts on Gillette are just completely interchangeable. They are completely identical images of each other. Casting is nowhere near that precise. Casting is close, but even the best of casting, unless you're doing metal injection molding, is just nowhere near what stamping is. Other big concern I had with the Razor was that the center bar is also not, it's not folded sheet metal like the original Gillette. If you look at the original Fatboys or any of the Gillette razors, if you look at the center bar, I'm gonna try to hold this really still, you'll see a little tiny seam on that center bar. And it literally is because the center bar has been folded. It was a flat piece of sheet metal and it was folded down, and even the little tabs, end caps, are folded out from that same piece. And it sounds like a really little thing, but what you end up getting is perfect symmetry. If it's done right, the stamping is done correctly, you get perfect symmetry. So how that affects your shave or your construction is that then you have a perfect opening and closing. You also have equal amount of pressure on the doors coming down. Casting, you can actually have irregularities where it can be slightly bent in one way or the other. And I did notice on this, very first thing I noticed was when I closed down again, my specific model, may not be in every one, it could be an assembly issue. But my specific model here, when I closed this down, I had a large gap on this door over here, whereas a Fatboy does not. And this door is able to be lifted. I can completely lift this door up and move it, and it's not actually putting equal pressure on the blade. Even with the blade inside, you could say, well, maybe if you add a blade, it'll be different. And it actually is a little bit better with the blade, but there's still a big gap, and I can still move it. So it means it's not actually being pulled down symmetrically, and that goes into the construction. That as the center bar is being pulled down, if it's not a perfect perpendicular, mirror image of each other, it's going to have it's going to go to one side or the other. It's going to kind of find the weakest link, and it's obviously showing that. So one other thing to note that I was a little bit shocked about when I looked at this razor was when you open it up, there's this unfinished brass ring inside that's not plated, and that to me was really kind of a shock because, obviously we do a lot of plating in my shop, and we know about exposed brass, and if you own a carved razor or another razor made of solid brass that's not finished, you know that over time it's going to corrode and oxidize, and it's going to turn green and brown, and it's going to be kind of a source of maintenance. And having it be down here in this tiny little area, you're going to end up having to use a Q-tip to really get in there with like a metal polish over time if you're concerned about that corrosion that's starting. It also could compromise the chrome finish over time. Usually corrosion breeds more corrosion, and when you have an unfinished piece of metal next to a finished piece of metal, they can really interfere with each other. So I was not so impressed with that. I know I'm being really critical. I'm not trying to be critical too much, but I'm also trying to be authentic with you guys and genuine. I do have a bias, and I'll tell you that my bias is the fact that I have worked on Fatboy razors for 15 years in a professional setting. Obviously, we've received thousands of them from around the world to service, and I've bought and sold probably hundreds of thousands myself. And I guess I'm just so into the build and the assembly and the components that I could spot these differences right away. And again, I do want to give them complete credit because for a long time people always said, man, I wonder if Gillette will ever put out a Fatboy again. And I always would laugh and say there's no possible way. And this does looks very, very similar. It functions very, very similar. I would say on a score of, 1 to 10, 10 being the original and they hit every single thing perfect and it's just like it, and 0 being, it's nowhere close to it. It's a complete farce. It's not even in the same ballpark. I'd probably give this Fatguy like a 7 or an 8. I think that's an honest assessment. It shaves pretty similar, at least for my use just now. That's the first time I've done it. I did it on camera. The shave was comparable. I did favor the Fatboy. But when you think about the quality of construction, the quality of materials, some of these, pretty to me, pretty critical things like holding the blade all the way, holding it properly. I also noticed that the blade gap, right from, I haven't touched it, right from the factory, the blade gap was just off. And I, really didn't think that was very professional. When we send home razors that have been revamped or tuned up, if it's not just right on, the customer will email us or call us back and say, hey, the blade gap's not perfect. Customers are very, very aware of the blade gap, and they want things to be perfect. And I was not impressed with that. And that's why I'm marking it down from 100% to probably 70 or 80% close to the authentic one. I do want to commend them, really do, genuinely, for at least even having this as an option. The retail price on this is $149. They are doing different specials. If you bought it ahead of time, I think it's $99. Now I'm seeing it's up to $109. So it's definitely a nice offering. The razor is made of brass. It's made in a combination of India, Hong Kong, I've heard Japan, and then they do assembly in Canada. So it does have kind of a lot of different components going on here. And I don't think they called out which components are made where, but that is what they are saying. And I think it's a great first step, and if they are able to improve it a bit and tweak it and really kind of hone it in, I think it could be a fantastic razor. I think it already is a very nice razor. I think, though, for the price, if you look at the price, even at the $99, you can buy Fatboys all day long for $50 on eBay, $40, $50, $60 on eBay, sometimes even cheaper on the groups. So I think another angle to consider is that if you do get the original on eBay, let's say you spent $40, $50, $60, or even up to almost $100, you did send it us for a tune-up, which we charge $39 on an adjustable. You're going to be right at the retail price of this. You'll be like, under $149. And you're going to have the original razor tuned up, correct blade gap, sanitized, ready to go, and it's going to last decades and decades and decades. So to me, I guess I'm not seeing the benefit of going with this. Had it been stainless steel, had it been machined, I'd be absolutely blown away at that price. I would say, yeah, there's clear differences, but it is the same brass construction, albeit cast, not stamped. It does have the chrome finish, which maybe people say, I love the chrome, chrome's better for me, I'm hypoallergenic to nickel or whatever. Okay, great. I actually see the chrome as a detriment. Chrome is extremely hard to take off in a stripping process. Nickel is very, very easy to take off. And chrome also, in the long run, doesn't hold up. Look at old German razors from the 40s, 50s. The chrome is always flaking and falling off. So I think longevity-wise, this chrome finish is not going to hold up as nice as nickel. Nickel holds up wonderfully. I can polish an old nickel razor from the 30s, and it's perfect, as long as there wasn't, serious corrosion or damage to it. But the chrome razors from that same time period never look the same. So I think the original is gonna certainly win in this argument here. I do think this is a great contender. I think it's a great runner-up. I think it's a great option if you just are weirded out about using a vintage razor, or you can't find them, or you want to, you really like the chrome finish or whatever. But I'm going to call it for the original, the OG, the original Fatboy. That's all I got for this video. I hope that my assessment today was honest and genuine. And again, I am a very big Gillette fanboy. I know, you guys know, but I want to call it like it is. I hope that my points here I made were factual and reasonable and rational and not just emotional, like, hey, this is crap. I mean, it's not. It's a very good razor, and it's a really great effort they made, and I hope they continue to improve upon it, and I look forward to seeing more from them. So that's all I got today. If you've used the Fatguy, or if you've heard about it or seen it out in the wild, or if you like the original Fatboy and it's your favorite razor, tell me all about it in the comments and why. If you do leave a comment, you're entered to win this, the official Razor Emporium black and blue t-shirt and white from Shaving Cream. That's all I got. Please make sure to share this video with your friends, subscribe to our channel, like it, and we will see you next time at Razor Emporium for all things vintage shaving. Thanks, guys.